Someone should take Toby for a walk. Have you found something interesting?
Perhaps. Now the question is... Plus of the Great Exhibition. Right. Garden, oh heaven, 3 Bulletin Road, gardening equipment, clay pots, accessories, tools. Please tell me it hasn't, like, skipped out on me on that one. Because... Find out who killed, inspect Kew Gardens, staff buildings, find the point of use. And so on. Fair enough, I'll go back to Kew Gardens then. And have a goosey gander around. Nosing around, nosing around, nosing around, nosing around. What are you doing, Watson? My dear Watson, why are you being such a Watson? Like, it's because I am a man that has a face. Like, what does that mean? And he's like, I don't know, I'm just a man, look at my face. This is the face of a man. And I'm like, you have a face. And he's like, I totally do. Poisoning tells me at this time. Plot. I think that the game hasn't bugged out on me. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Come on, load already. Any day now. I know the garden is like ludicrously huge and stuff, but still, stuff and things and stuff and things and things and stuff. Okay. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Yes, you do. Let me have a chat with you. Oh, good. Feeling really chervinous. Oh. The Divine Syndicate.
Are you aware of the Divine Syndicate?
The Divine what? Is this a joke?
No, I am quite serious.
What a ridiculous name. Anyway, I have never heard of this syndicate.
You don't sound all that convinced. Only about plants.
Tell me, Mr. Hamish, do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
He's very short, curt, and to the point, isn't he?
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was?
Oh yes, he forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who is such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
Okay, so does that everybody include you then? Tell me about the dad then.
As deputy director, how was your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better. You see, every Tuesday he would carry out his inspection of the gardens, but it was solely to make an impression, great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
Elaborate.
You mentioned that Mr. Dunn led a particular lifestyle.
Well, it's no secret that he enjoyed, celebrating, shall we say.
Ah.
He was a member of the...
And then my computer crashed. Not having much luck with this at the moment. The good news is, though, I finally managed to wangle myself. I'm getting a new motherboard. It means I'm going to have to start using an Intel processor, but it's an i5, and I'm currently using a Phenom 955, which is a 3.2 processor, granted. I've mentioned this before, I know. Whereas the i5 is a 3.1, but looking at it, the i5 is like 50% faster than the Phenom. There's also the fact that I currently have actually an AM2 Plus board, and it's an AM3 processor, so I know the board was throttling it by about 10 to 15%, so I should get almost double the efficiency, which would be good, because the last one of these videos I rendered, last recording session, just over 3 hours. It took 16 hours to render it. 16. Yeah, now I get that it's 1080 and I'm adding the watermark and stuff, but still, 16 hours for 3 hours of footage? Yeah, I think getting an i5 is going to be a good idea. Anyway, it's on its way. It should arrive sometime next week. This is also the day after the previous recording session. I was just like, screw it. And this game's taking forever to load. And my cat woke me up this morning about 9 o'clock. He just sort of wandered into the living room, meowing really loudly. And then when I finally woke up and looked at him, he looked at me. He was like, sup? And then fell asleep on the couch where he is still now. Wow, my frame rate is tanking. My frame rate is 12. Please tell me that's just because it hasn't finished loading yet. Yeah, it's still loading. Right, let's talk to Martin. Now, most of this I've already done in the previous recording, so I'm probably just going to skip through it. I don't know, see how I feel this, assuming that the game keeps working. Come on, game! It's not like I have loads of stuff going in the background. I mean, I have Power Director open, but I'm not currently rendering anything with it. It might actually be worth closing that down because it does use quite a lot of RAM. I know this is a fairly RAM intensive game. Yeah, I'm still only getting 20 frames. I'm supposed to be getting 30. Alright, hold on. And then I closed the wrong process. And there's JC Rebel. Somebody just does not want me.
Are you aware of
to finish this game? So Churva things of
tell me.
You mean insectivorous?
Oh,
what is your opinion?
Useless.
I don't know how many of these have done. So if you've
Are you?
Well, but
Churva,
then it was
Dervish.
Yes, that is
Dervish.
You mentioned a Miss White.
Yeah.
Would you tell us more about?
Oh, so I can't be bothered. Just gonna skip through all of this. I've already heard it all myself. Churva Dix. He likes wine and women's. And the colonial
Mr. Hamish, can you
point.
explain to us what happened to the colonial collection?
Oh, and Albert
it
has the
seems
keys.
somewhat depleted.
But, most likely maintenance work, tidying up.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Deputy director.
Well, I
yes,
am
not
busy.
Director.
I cannot be everywhere at once.
Yeah, that doesn't sound at all suspicious.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish.
Good, it
we shall
worked.
continue our investigation.
Right, let's go have a chat with Albert. I'll tell you something, Frogwares. You're lucky I love you. Putting up with all this food. It's not the game's fault. It is my system. Although, granted, the game is part of it. Do you know anything about this Divine Syndicate
Tell me,
thing?
have you ever heard of the Divine Syndicate?
No, I cannot say that I have.
I see. What about the keys?
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
I think you've said you did.
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll just pick the lock. Right. So
I imagine that your relationship with your
your
father
dad.
may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here.
Okay.
Now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path.
Why?
I have to manage Kew Gardens. And I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
Why do you have to? Tell me about this Miss White lady.
Who is
then.
Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Yes, I know which one it is. Tell me... what's going on with those two?
Would you
anyway?
please tell us about Martin Hamish, the deputy
Yes.
director?
Please
Well,
do.
I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the deputy director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed. That is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honour of being the garden's longest-serving employee. In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose
No.
so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how was his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father.
Yeah,
It was
that's kind of
obvious.
obvious.
He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences.
Why?
He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. Dismissively. With indifference.
Well, we call that a motive.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah. At the moment I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Thank you. Right. Then. Does that give us anything else to this chat about?
Just be careful with the plants during your inspection.
Can we go in here now? Directly? Yes, we can. Open the door. Ah, there's a safe. Is it going to be another one of those? Interesting. What's this all about? Ah, interesting. Okay. No. 2. Is it always going to be 2, do you think? No, it isn't. Right. 2. 3. No. So, 2, 2, 3, 3, then 4, then no. Okay, so 2, 2, 3. Sorry, dude, I'm kind of solving this puzzle at the moment. We can chat later. I will probably end up chatting on the video once I upload it, so yeesh. And there we go. Interesting locking mechanism. That's rather ingenious and intriguing. My dear friend, please allow me to express my disappointment upon reading your last letter. I am paying you to defend me, not to accuse me. Kew Gardens is a royal institution. We are granted the great opportunity to travel the world and to save the most extraordinary, precious and rare species. Extraordinary, precious and rare species of plant. Species of plant. That should have an apostrophe after it. Our duty is to protect such species from those who might wish to use them for dubious purpose. This divine syndicate of whom you speak have no right to hold such precious plants. Remember the case of June 14, 1889. So I must respectfully ask you once again to notarize the permissions on these plants on behalf of Kew Gardens. The documents were sent to you on Monday. P.S. See you in Boodles on Tuesday as always. Montague Dunn. Gone ship. Yeah, he's talking about Star Trek Online, for those who didn't see
A
it.
list of the plants that were displayed at the exhibition and later stolen.
He was curious which thingy-bob I'd be going with. Which faction I'd go with, and I said probably the Klingons because Space Vikings. Mr. Dunn, we must ask you for the last time for the return of our dear sisters. You do not have any right to hold them imprisoned. They do not belong to you. Your so-called permissions are wholly false. You are hiding behind lies. The lies we need not elaborate that was reported in the press as the case of June 14, 1889. What you have done is quite abhorrent. Be very sure that we shall never abandon our family members. We trusted you and regret having done so. The Divine Syndicate. Family members?
If this small expansion goes through, hundreds of trees will be slaughtered.
They think that the plants are their
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document.
Debt of Miss Margaret White to Mr. Montague Dunn. Rental of a suite of rooms of Oxford Street. An educational scholarship at the London University. Credits opened at Hamilton, Radigan House, Taylor's, and at Baird & Sons Luxury Jewellers. Interesting. Director's desk. The
Newspapers discussing Kew Gardens.
New plant species. The Kew Gardens team are pleased to announce the successful production of a new variety of barley, one that retains a complete resistance to the cold. They have named it the Siberian barley. Mr. Martin Hamish, the proud cultivator of the graft, will hold a press conference next Monday morning upon this very subject. Nice hat. Letter. Coinses, stuffs, and stuffs, and stuffs. My dearest Margaret, following our last conversation, I believe it would be better if you vacate your position here at Kew Gardens. As you pointed out quite bluntly, you are no longer in need of my support. You are quite able to stand up for yourself in this world, as you say. Well, I give you back your freedom and wish you nothing but good luck. The tone of that was not what we have been told Mr. Dunn was like.
A photograph of Montague Dunn and Reynold Hamish.
Martin's father, perhaps? Is that... yeah, that's him, isn't it? Champagne! Champanal.
French wine. A remarkable vintage.
Poms.
Champagne. Montague Dunn had good taste.
I shall disagree with you on that, Mr. Holmes. It's French. Is there anything else of interest in here? I do not see anything. No.